There are
Just
two.
Celia.
Well,
You gotta be.
Celia, Marco doesn't count. So actually, nobody but Celia. Alrighty, it's 6 o'clock, and so, at least on a temporary basis, I will call the meeting to order until we elect a new committee chair, vice chair, et cetera. So we have a quorum, we are all here, kind of. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd like to, first of all, go around the room and ask everybody who's sitting at this table to introduce themselves, not only, quote, two new members, but at least everybody. So Lauren, we're going to start with you.
I'm Lauren Gunyon. I'm the executive director at Town.
Jacob Waddle, the general manager of Town Hall.
Michael Massett, utility company speak. Mark Lutero, so 47. I have an old address, 737, on the previous master planning committee group, and an architect.
My name's Joanna Everyman. I'm I was on the task force before, and I live at 1013 Nash Drive, Roseville corner.
McAdoo, 706 Honeysuckle, newly retired, so looking for new vistas.
Good, go. Dennis, Dad live at 925 Croton Road, which is about 1 block that way, so I can walk here. I've lived here in Celebration for 19 years now. Well, I came to the Master Plan Advisory Board meeting or presentation, so I have no idea what's going on. Looking forward to being involved in trying to make it work.
Great. Jim Pinot, I live in Island Village. I'm also chairman of the finance committee. So, and I was on it before, yes.
Hi, my name is Joe Zell. I live at 505 Campus Street, the main village. I was on the previous master planning group, and I look forward to serving. So on.
My name is Jared Wise. I am a CROA board member, and I am here as an interim liaison just until we reappoint, till we assign liaisons for this new committee
When is that gonna happen?
tomorrow night.
Oh,
Okay, I had sent out, and then Lauren had made it official, the agenda items for today. So I just want to read through the agenda items, and before we begin with the agenda items, see if there's any other questions from any of the members. First thing I thought would be helpful to do is for us to read and discuss, and there are copies if you haven't received it. I know Marco was nice. Copies of the master planning advisory. I want us to go through that. We need to elect a committee chair, committee vice chair. I thought it would be helpful for us just to have a very quick recap, especially for those of you who are new or those who may have forgotten in the 2 months since we've published it, what the recommendations were, so we can make sure we have our priorities correct. And then talk a little bit about how we want to organize our workflow for the next several months in terms of projects and deliverables and kind of work groups. And then something we didn't do well last time around, and I guess that was my fault, to try to pick have a standing meeting, whatever it is. We can change it at some point, but to say the third Tuesday, the third Wednesday, whatever it is, because I know Jim and Marco and others who are on other committees, have standing meetings, and we did it more ad hoc last time based upon workflow. This time, I think we should probably change that. So those were the items. So before we begin, any questions or comments?
I just on the just to mention capital change, capital contribution. The ballots are going out Monday. So everybody's going to get those and hopefully get that approved so we can have the money to do what we need to do, not only for this, but for E51 and keeping things up to date in Celebration. So if you have neighbors that you talk to, you try and encourage them to
Is it an easy, like, yes, no vote?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
good,
And I think it's pretty clear.
okay.
In other words,
Very-
yes and not.
Yeah.
It's not worded the way it was for the referendum.
Right.
Yeah.
The referendum, the way the petition was worded, forced the way that wording was. But this is just, yes, I approve, no, I do not.
It's just the addition of two sentences, and it has them listed out what those are.
Okay, nice.
Very good. Okay, well, given that that was something we had discussed for at least for a while towards the end of our plan, it's very important that we have that proper funding. So, okay. Any other comments on the agenda or discussion on this before we begin?
Is it gonna be once a month schedule?
That's what I would recommend. Let's start that. I think once a month, but what I'm gonna, when we talk about the priorities, right, now we're jumping into items, but we talk about the priorities, I'm gonna recommend that we have work groups, that, for example, Mark and person to be named and others maybe are working on 851, maybe you and I are working at Splash Pad, whatever it is.
I get it.
And then those subgroups will work, and then as an entire group, we'll meet once a month, but that the subgroups will each focused on the four or five priorities that we have. But yes, I think once a month for the entire group. All right, so everybody has a copy of hopefully, does everybody have a copy of the master plan resolution? So we can read it. The key thing, I've got two comments. If you look at when we all applied for this committee, there was a
Before we go any
paragraph.
further, do you have a spare one of those? I didn't get one. Oh, wait, I did. I thought we, no, there, right. Thank you.
Yeah. So the first thing I did was I looked at our applications, and there was a paragraph on top of the application. That was also what was published for the call to people, to the group. I compared that with the final resolution, and it's more or less consistent. So that's good. There was a sentence when we applied that says the purpose of the group will be ensure that CROA does not materially deviate from the 2024 master plan, and that is not in our resolution.
That was taken out at the board meeting
I'm sure it was, but
because some of that discussion was you don't know every year who the board's going to be. And then you feel it was proper to put that in and say, you're going to force boards to do the master plan.
okay. Thank you for that clarification. Okay, so I think we can skip the whereas. You all can read the universal committee goals. I think the key thing is scope of work. And I'll just read it out loud for those, Alec, who are online, and Celia. Ensure that the goals and objectives as developed by the 2023-2024 Master Plan Advisory Group is followed within reasonable timelines and budgets, ensuring the consistency, longevity, quality, and implementation of the 2024 Master Plan. And then secondly, engage with the relevant existing committees identified in subsection C below to ensure efficiency and effectiveness of the plan. So work with others and implement the plan as we developed it as part of the 2024 plan. So I think that's pretty clear. Questions, comments, thoughts?
So not having seen the plan, assuming it's not a document that was sent to us, it must be something else?
The plan is on the website. Okay, I can show you where it is afterwards, but it's there. We have electronic copies we can send you. We'll send you links. It's 100 pages long. Okay, but it details basically has a lot of supporting documentation, talks about our approach, But what it does is it says, listen, based upon all the prior surveys, all the data that we did, we took projects, we put them as kind of basically phase one and phase two. Okay, and when we look at the phase one priorities, of which we would do some of or all of, depending upon, where this group and the Crow board gets to. But, phase one was splash pads. It was town hall remediation. It was multi-function sports courts and parks enhancements. So those were the first set of priorities. And then there's a second set. So, this group can decide different approaches, but let's go after phase one, make progress on that before we worry too much more about phase two. That doesn't mean we don't look at phase two, but it just means, and I think there was a fair amount of discussion, and I may be wrong, Warren, that, did I read somewhere that the Crow board, as relates to splash pads, voted, what did they say, something?
They voted to direct us to issue an RFP for design build at a specific number based on the numbers provided to you guys. And Jacob's been working on getting vendors out here to do walks and get that moving.
Okay.
It was issued at the number that you recommended,
Yes.
but we withheld contingency, so it was the number minus contingency.
Good. Okay, so one of the things that we'll have to do, or Jacob, as we go through this, is that figure out how it is we support you as you go through that project. And I'm going to get to that in a few minutes. So scope of work, and then it talks about goals and objectives of our group. It's pretty straightforward. Key thing, as Jim mentioned, is historically, for those of you who are new to the group, the projects that we recommended, if you go back, they've been talked about for 10 years, everyone. 10 years, maybe 14 years, somewhere in 2010. Most of them were brought up in the 2014, certainly. And for a variety of reasons, money, conflicting priorities, whatever, they didn't get it. So, one of the things that we're working on, that will go out on Monday is, some additional funding that will help support these projects. One of the other issues that historically we know we struggled with was, proper technical support, project management support. And that's where we feel we can strongly help, advance along some of these projects and ensure that they're properly managed. Anyway, goals and objectives, I think, are pretty straightforward. And then resources are consistent with our last thing. The last bullet under resources, it says, aside from any question, the advisory group is not permitted to request association funds or incur any expenses during the report. So that just means we can't independently, we shouldn't be spending money, but when we do the splash pad, we're spending, we shouldn't be confused that we have any money to spend. We have no money to spend, although our projects have lots of money to spend, but we should not be confused that we have a checkbook with any money in it.
Right.
Which makes
Yours
sense.
is all, it goes in as recommendations, then to the board, and then the board approves it.
Yeah, okay. The last bullet, I think, is worth some discussion, which is this resolution says there would be 5 Crow members of good standing appointed by the Crow board. We currently have 7 people on the board, not 5, if I got it right.
Part of the changes, like the one about holding the board, the master plan, the other change was to change that from 5 to 5 to 7.
Okay, but this was the, but this,
changed. The other things are taken out.
but wait a minute, is this not the final resolution then? Warrant?
This is not the signed one, so that was probably, it's the 5 to 7. Everything else was taken out of this one, but the 5 to 7 is not in there.
Okay, so the final one says 7. Okay, and so I think it's worth a discussion. Yeah, I know it's on the phone there. There was one member of the master planning advisory group who submitted his application on time. It was acknowledged that it was submitted on time. but his application was not considered. So can I ask, we don't have a liaison, but since we have somebody sitting here, can I just ask maybe for an update as to where that stands or how that's going to be addressed?
Sure, that was brought to the attention of the board by Katie. She let us know that Alec did submit his. I made a recommendation that we need to revote based on this information. There was discussion between Katie, Andrew, and myself, and no other input from any other board members. So without a majority, we can't do anything. Right now, I am happy to add any discussion on this tomorrow night at our
We said
workshop.
majority, you mean a majority to recommend.
4 board members would need to provide an opinion to.
Well, Celia's on the phone. Celia, what's your position on this? Since Alec was vaccinated.
My position is we're going to have this discussion tomorrow night in public at our workshop.
Hey,
So it's
we're in
either up it up to 8 people or
Yeah.
I
vote
think we can,
7?
I think that's a possibility. We can discuss that tomorrow. Anything's open.
That is true, anything is open.
Yeah, so we can discuss that as a board in public tomorrow. And if need be, change the resolution. If we have to 8, I don't have a problem with it. We just do it in public.
Okay, but we are in public now, right?
Yeah,
are
but we're not at a board meeting open for
Okay.
all 7 board members to
I
discuss.
just wondered your personal opinion, and it sounds like you're supportive.
Yes, I don't have a
Good.
problem with Alec being on it.
But
Actually,
like, what are the chances of like one of us getting kicked out?
So I will speak only for myself. It is my opinion, and this is maybe an unpopular opinion, it is my opinion that we don't, as an organization, as a business, go around changing our governing documents to fit our needs for the community. I strongly feel that a resolution was created, agreed, and voted. Now, a mistake was made by management. I don't think the resolution to that personally is to just change the way we govern ourselves. So I believe there should be a revote.
Jared, we're just changing the amount of people on the committee. It's not
Thanks,
changing
thanks,
anything.
Celia. I was just expressing my personal opinion.
But thank you
That's
for
fine.
that.
That's
good.
why we discuss it tomorrow in public as a board.
I respect that very much. Just my view is, version 1 said 5 people, version 2 says 7. So obviously, we've already established that we can change. It's not like
Actually,
we've never
Joe,
changed before. It would be good. to know.
actually, Joe, if we remember the last night that you guys made the presentation, there
Yep.
were a few board members that said, let's leave the group as a standing group, but all of a sudden that changed overnight, and that's how we landed up now. So
Okay.
we can discuss this in public tomorrow.
Okay, so when you discuss it in public tomorrow, we'll be anxiously awaiting. I think there are, at least for me, a very strong opinion that when we have somebody who has very strong technical skills,
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, he's literally a
As
project
a
manager. Like,
project for town hall, which is our most complicated, as much as, I'm volunteering to help with splash pads. But the town hall is a very complicated project. We have an architect who's very knowledgeable. We have Alec, who is very knowledgeable on this topic. To turn away somebody who's got strong technical knowledge, I just.
So I think we're getting off topic of the agenda, so we should probably refocus.
Right.
Is critical to what we're doing, period. So it's.
Okay, but
I think everyone agrees. I don't think that there is any, I have not heard any,
Right.
anything to the contrary. That's, yeah.
Works out in other words.
But I don't think we're getting off topic because we're reviewing the resolution. The resolution that you supplied to me today says 5 people. Now it's 7. I'm saying, well, as long as it's 7, I think, not that it means anything, but we should go around the room and ask the people in this room if they think it should be increased to 8 without. That's just
That way we could make a recommendation.
Make a recommendation.
To the board.
that they
Right,
can
and then
agree
you
to
can
or
bring
disagree
that.
to.
Put it on the agenda.
Right.
Change it.
So, Joanna, what do you think?
Yeah, bump it up to 8.
Update, Mark?
Yeah.
Marcus? New members?
Seems like the right thing.
Okay, so this group, non-voting advisory, for what it's worth, think it's very important to make that change.
But we should understand first what happened, right? What happened? He submitted in time.
He did submit it on time. Yeah.
He very coordinated.
I think it just didn't show up in your folder of like applications.
So, okay, all right. Let's go to the next item, which is elect a committee chair and vice chair.
I nominate Joe to be the chair.
I follow.
Third and fourth.
So,
All in
He's
favor?
already talking, yeah.
and thank you, and I would like to do it. I did not officially do it last time because I had some travel commitments. I don't, my calendar's pretty good for the next 6 months. And I think we operated well last time around. So thank you. Vice Chair.
Mark,
I literally want to take no responsibility for other than I have an impact on just because of my life and schedule with actual work. In other words, I can't be relied on.
I got, well, the 8:51 is a lot of time.
So anyway, I'd rather not have a particular thing that carries with it anything. But here to definitely help with what we're trying to do.
You can table that one too, if that would be something that would be better discussed at another time.
I was gonna volunteer as vice chair. I think it's important to have a women perspective.
And the
And
other
I'm
person-
a younger
Yeah.
person as well, especially if you're gonna be the chair.
Yeah.
I think it's like equal balance.
That's the other reason why Alec is important is we're in a slightly different age group, no offense to you, but we're a little bit younger, so they have that diversity of
Yes.
folks else
Okay.
and families that are still living. So,
Any other thoughts, comments, questions? So there's a motion for, to approve me as the chair and Joanne as the vice chair. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, so next, what I thought that we can kind of combine the next two topics. If we go back to the final master plan, which even though it's typed up and bound and published, I think one of the things that we need to do is it's going to be a living document. It's not saying we're going to go change the recommendations, but if we come up with a better location for something or find out some additional information, we need to continue to keep that in mind. So when we go through the phase 1 recommendations, I'm just going to read them out so we're all aware of it. Phase 1 recommendation, the first item was splash pad. Second item was the multifunction sports courts. The third item was parks enhancements, selected parks enhancements. The fourth item that wasn't in either phase 1 or phase 2, because we kind of parked it off to the side, was 851, getting our town hall remediated, fixed, built a new one. So when we look at the projects at Splash Pad Town Hall, multifunction courts, and parks, we did a fair amount of work looking at locations and budgets, etc. What I'm recommending we do at this meeting, subject to change, right? Especially if Alec joins or doesn't join, somebody else joins, is to take those 4 projects and develop working groups of 2 to 3 people per project with we don't have to be a leader within it, but at least for us to kind of divide. In addition to, Jim's going to have 2 titles, because what Jim can also do is, as we go through this, Jim can be all things, financial, since he's got the tie to the finance committee to represent and support finance for all of those working groups. But when I kind of laid out, which may be different than the approach that's already started with the splash pads, in my mind, when you kind of look at these projects, it's like if I started in my mind when I was hiking somewhere, I started to like what a project plan would look like for each one of these. And we know historically, that's been a challenge is project planning for projects. And so, what I think for all these projects is there would be, it's got 10 sections. Anything from, type it up, making sure we have community input. Like we think we already have community input, but before we would finalize what the splash pad details are, we would make sure we get additional community input. Or during and before then we hit the final, award the final bid. Making sure proper site is selected, right? We think we've come up with for splash pads the proper site, but we want to look at that again.
Is there any way we could put this up on the? Yeah, just for the new
Yes.
members so they can see.
Yes.
Wouldn't it make more sense for all of us to work together, like on each project, instead of like divvying it up?
Well, let's discuss that. I just think everybody working on every project,
Well, they can put like their expertise.
yeah, but like Mark, I mean, we'll speak of Mark's behalf, but we know Mark's working on 851, and I don't know if Mark wants to work on all 4 projects. If he does, that's fine. If everyone wants to work on every project, but I think,
We should figure out to have a way to still discuss it together.
Yes,
So
which-
we have to
which-
do that, but definitely having a person that champions it.
I think a champion,
Makes sense.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, that may be a better way to put it.
Yeah, so so you'd have a project champion and then who would gather the facts and then, make the presentations at the monthly meetings as to hear where we are. But I think to have everybody work on every project, it's up to you all, but I just think project champions are a good idea.
Well, I think 851 and splash pad are the priorities right now.
Right.
Yeah,
Again, with the financing, you can't do all of these at once. So it's going to be, and from project management, I don't think we're going to want to do 3 or 4.
no, but one of the things we did talk about, right, which is, so yes, but when we looked at, for example, selected parks enhancements, some of those may be $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, maybe affordable, right? There were 7 or 8 subsections of the parks enhancements.
And that's phase 1?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Third. That's phase 1,
Oh,
right?
I see.
What we didn't, all the parks enhancements were about $800,000. We said, we're not gonna do them all now, right? But maybe 1 or 2 of them now. And as far as, even though it would be not the immediate priority, the multi-sports, we've been talking about that. But can Marco and a team of people start to get us to the next step, right? Before, I'm not saying we're going to put the shovel in the ground, but what would be all the steps that would be involved, right?
Yeah, one of the key pieces we need to do for all of them anyway is still spend a little bit of money to get true design firms working on it, get that done.
Yeah.
So that when it's ready to go, ready to be funded.
Yes.
There it is, it's ready to go.
And
And then there's not further delay there, so it's trying to work through the process to at least get designs done, priced, so you have accurate pricing, a real design.
and there's,
But wouldn't that constitute an RFP?
Yeah, yes, 100%. Yeah, it's putting out RFPs, get design firms or every design build, get smash that, get those groups going, and then get the funding done to actually
because
build it.
as a result of the RFP, right? So again,
So it's still design piece.
because for the sports courts, you may do the design work, and it may not be the 1.1 million that we said. It may be 500,000 or maybe 2 million. Well, if it's 2 million, okay, that's a different discussion. If it's 500,000, then maybe it's not 3 years from now, maybe it's 2 years from now. So it's kind of getting to that.
The only way we're going to know is to hire a design team with civil engineering and somebody who does roads. So getting that design work done, so you have the real
Yeah.
price.
Yeah.
Which with everything included.
I had two things. We will be doing the splash pad in 851 somewhat at the same time. One will be faster than the other, but they will be happening at a similar time. I don't know. And can I ask, what is the timeline for the RFP for the splash pad?
End of this month, on the RFPs, returning from the RFPs
To get them back?
to get them back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's out.
I mean, I've had 2 that have been very good to work with. I've had 6, I think we reached out to 8. And about the rest of them, most of them, the RFP's been sent. But we've not got anything back since the RFP. So I'm still working on trying to get them, knocking at doors, trying to get them to respond to the RFP. The 2 that we have.
But they still have 2 more weeks.
One has done a site visit, one's based in North Carolina and has done a virtual face-to-face with me, basically understanding the same level of a site visit. So I feel good that we're going to probably get at least 2, but I want to get more. I want to get some more information or some.
So I think going forward.
Quick question on that, if you don't mind. It's one of the groups, the ones that did, for instance, the one that we actually had, which is,
Yeah, so I guess going forward, we just need to be, yeah, how were the firms selected that you went out to?
Yeah, one of these, there's a group that did a lot of them in the surrounding business. Let's see if that was one.
Jacob can share that with the group over
Yeah.
email.
Okay.
And if they weren't included, then we can.
And we can also,
Yeah,
yes.
please, like, if you do have the name of the company, please shoot it over to me.
Yeah.
If I didn't, I'd love to reach out to them.
Yeah.
I'll pick it up because I did find it when we were.
But I think
Every one of them she pointed out was actually done by the same group.
Yeah. But I don't know who came up with the schedule, okay? But I think this group needs to help with that schedule. Because did you say awarding by the end of this month?
No.
No, the bids are coming back.
This is to get first level, very base, some of them to get any large amount of detail do need kind of
Yeah.
they request funds to build out, the actual design plans. We're trying to not to do that at this point, just doing, just trying to get very high level.
Yeah. Okay.
And this one was design build, which is not how we would do like
Otherwise,
851, but for the splash
These guys
pad,
did.
it was, we have a budget.
Yeah.
Yes,
You
so
decide.
that's why we did that, because then we were also able to move ahead without an extensive RFP. It was really just, give us your numbers. What's the timeline? We get to pick what the timeline is based on whoever has what we want, so.
Okay, all right. Anyway, if you can get us, okay. So anyway, the point is for each one of these projects, right, and we don't have to go through it all now, but there's a standard 10 steps. Mark just mentioned a couple of them, right? It's budgets, funding, it's permits, right? It's architectural plans, design plans, going through the RFP process, managing the construction phase of it, which we know historically has been challenging, the inspection, community engagement, maintenance, operations, et cetera. So I think if it's okay, I will publish in the next couple of weeks a straw man, what that might look like. And then everybody can mark it up, cross it out, change it, but at least there'll be something that's there that we can use. Or not use. You may say, you know what, that's great, except for the splash pad, we're going to do something different. Fine. But it just says, in general, here's a good approach. Because what we just want to do is make sure that as we go through the process, we get back something and the design firm in North Carolina is not aware that Osceola County Building Department won't allow this because it's not code here, right? And so we just have those steps involved because that's important.
Did the advisory group work in teams? And is that where information was shared, or where did you?
Yes.
So would it be ideal to maintain that source? Can we just turn that, Lauren, over to the committee?
Yeah, I can pull out the old committee members and put in the new committee members.
And then we can reorganize folder structure. So then they have access to all of that stuff that happened, and then you can work on this project.
So, yeah. So for the 4 priorities, and we can come up with project champions. And if everybody wants to volunteer to be on every group, that's okay. Joanna, right? If only certain people want to be on certain groups, that's okay. But I would recommend that we have a champion, somebody who makes sure that the working group sharing documents online like we did last time, is having phone calls, Zoom sessions like we did last time offline before we have our monthly meeting, looking at the project plan, laying out dates, revising budgets, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I guess, because I assume that responsibility would be on the vice chair and chair. That's my assumption,
What would be?
like to make sure everybody's like on the same working page.
Yeah, but, yes, but I'm fine with that, I just don't want to seem like I'm showing everything. But I still think we need to have a champion for each one of the projects. So for example, what I wrote down here, like, maybe Mark, you would be the champion for our mediation, right?
I don't have a vote, but I second that.
Yes, right? And again,
I was just now reading the report.
right? And
I'll keep going.
And for the multifunction sports courts, I would look towards, oh, I see a hand being raised by Mark. Again, you could do as little and as most as you want, but at least one person says, I got this, I got the project plan, I got it. Joanne, I wrote your name and my name next to splash pad. And I would ask our newer members, probably still means, there's parks enhancements where you can join any of the existing 4 groups, and you don't have to decide now if you want a little bit of time to think about it. But I think the approach, again, just to repeat, so we all understand. Monthly, we will sit and have and spend 20 minutes to talk about each project. Go through the project plan, updates, what's on track, what's not on track, what the status is of each one of the 10 parts of the project plan, right? And then we would do that at the main meeting. But in between that, the teams would be working to come up with that. And vice chair and chair would be working with each one of the 4 groups to see what sort of support.
So if I could ask a few questions.
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
I'm very much catching up.
Sure.
So I interpret that to be a very large and detailed document. And
Yes.
our job is not to decide what to do, it's how to and when. Is that a fair way to think about it?
That's fair, fair.
That's a fair one. Now, if you came in, new and says, I got that you did this, okay? But I noticed you guys putting the splash pad here, and then despite the fact that the RFP may be out, but you know what? Let me just give you a new perspective. I think we should always listen to that, but the objective is not to say, let's build more tennis courts and not, but it's, I think you'll see it here, many of us will say, I got that, but, can we do something?
So I would like to know what target I'm shooting.
Yeah, it's to implement.
The job is to implement,
It's
not
both
to
ways.
talk about, which is good. Helps frame things.
You'll be hard pressed to find a project, except for skating, that isn't covered somewhere in here that, somebody will have so much land. There's not a lot that's not in here. And Jim gets heartburn because this is, tens of millions of dollars if we did everything.
I think all the taxpayers would probably get heartburn.
Yeah, but I think the scope, to debate the scope, hey, let's do more courts, whatever, I think it's all worthy of discussion, but we don't want to reinvent it because we just spent a year, 15 months doing this stuff.
So having said that, our job is to answer to the board who has approved this plan. Again, we're here to help implement the plan over some period of time. I assume it's a 5-year plan or a flexible plan.
Both.
Well, these initial projects, we said are 25 through 27. So 25, 26,
So
27,
phase 1 is 25.
Phase 1 is 3 years.
No.
right? And
Money dependent, basically.
money's tight,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yes,
And the basis of this group was okay, we've done, how many master plans have we done in the last 10 years? Like 6. Yeah. And then they're done. This group is to say, okay, we've done another one. It's the most comprehensive one that's done. This group is to make sure that we start implementing. Yes,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
And-
10-year plans, and we did 6 and 10.
And
That's an interesting.
And it's to add, in addition to all the other committees, it's to add some horsepower with some people with technical skills, people with extra time on their hands, right? Because a lot of people
Hopefully,
a lot of people have books.
Stunning good looks too.
Right, who have full-time jobs, right, and, you know, in a team from town hall, or doing lots of things. But it's to say, let's just put some extra muscle behind it, because historically, the plans were done, looked at, and then people got busy with, you know, hurricanes and things, and that's hard to have us, that project champion, every month is gonna say, are we on track?
Which brings me to the muscle. So how much muscle are we supposed to bring? That's again, something that is unclear to me. Are we here to advise and consult? Are we here to prepare project plans and budgets? Are we, so this monthly reporting.
So I think that's gonna be, I think you can ask 4 people around this room, and you're gonna get 4 different views, a little bit.
I think it's gonna be different on a different project. So like the splash pad is already suggested, board took it as something, so they asked them to get RFPs like that, because they thought that was such a good idea. The park enhancements are the ones that we all took a tour of every village. And a lot of that came out of that, or were people then suggesting it. I would say that's a project that could have more changes than any other, just
Yes.
because
Yeah.
you can go to North Village and say, well, you're going to do these 2 things, but I think this one. Yeah.
Hello?
Julian, did you have a comment?
In regards, I don't know who the new committee member's name is. I know Dennis, but I'm sorry, I missed your name.
Bob McAfee.
Who?
Bob McAdoo.
Bob. Okay, Bob. I think, Jim, it's great that you're explaining it, but I don't know if these 2 gentlemen have read that whole presentation that MPEG put together, and I think it would help them understand if they read it in detail what you guys are talking about. Am I making sense?
But
We'll
but
have
Bob-
to email it to them.
Already done.
Bob,
Oh, already done.
Bob, it's a good question to raise, because I think I have one view, and I got a feeling, you know, the board may have a different view. If you guys are just supposed to advise, okay, but if we can advise and drive, but we're driving as the advisory group, right? Because, you know, town hall and Crow Board are the ones who will be making the decisions. But my view has always been, and so far it's working, as long as we provide value add, both groups are saying, oh, sure, got it. As long as we provide value add, if we're just gonna run off by ourselves, then we're gonna lose the group. But so far, everybody's looked at what we're done, saying, okay, that looks good, that looks good. So as long as we could do that and provide technical skills like we're doing with town hall, et cetera, I think we'll be able to drive more, not by statute or by resolution, but by value add.
So let's use a particular example. Again, you'll forgive me, I have my mind.
No, it's great.
So we have RFPs coming in, 2 out of 8. Let's assume we get 4 out of 8. Would the committee or the project group read those RFPs and comment and recommend?
Right.
Yes,
Good.
yes.
Would they then be in the position of recommending which one of those would be best?
Yeah,
Good, recommended.
Recommend.
Could make
right?
a different decision.
Good. And then post RFP, one's awarded, negotiating with that, or is that something that's beyond the scope of this group?
Crow's contract, once you approve this, once the board approves the scope of work, Crow's contract is pretty much set in stone based on, we have a standard services agreement that we utilize. And then we attach the scope of work that's approved by the board and this committee to that contract.
So where I think it's, in my mind, one of the challenges that I think several of us felt last time around was, and we put it in our report, is the need for project management skills once projects have been awarded, right? And that's been an area where there's been some challenges with past projects here in town. And so who, for example, is going to project manage once it's been awarded the splash pad? The next day, who's going to be project managing that? And okay.
That's who it should be. I guess my opinion is the management company should be managing
Okay.
projects, but I do think we need to be there to help guide the project. For instance, if there is design decisions we made, we're part of everyone who is involved with that to help make decisions. For instance, with the restroom things, so the members of the board probably could care less what it really looks like. But we may have a different idea to at least be able to talk about or try to get Art involved or something else to bring people together that might be able to have an impact to direct the design teams on what to do with some of this. Same thing with the splash pad, what elements are in it. That's the first question I get asked. The board may not have an idea of that. We might. So it's helping institute whatever it is once the RFP is done. And also, well, to that same comment on what I just said, we probably help create the scope a little bit that goes into the RFP.
Yeah.
I think it's important that we need to make sure we have community opinion, not just a
Yes, not
sole
just us.
individual, right? What does the community want in those approved RFPs?
And we go to all these different committees for different things, and we go to ARC to make sure that what we're going to build, that the playgrounds are the colors they need to be for our documents. And we go to finance to make sure that we can afford it. There hasn't been a group to go, okay, well, we're doing a splash pad. Is this the splash pad that people want?
Right, exactly.
And this is,
Does it have the slides? Does it have, what is, so for town hall, it's a little bit easier, but for a splash pad, what is it that, we joined and did some research, and we know several communities. I just drove by a community up in Winter Springs, the private, where they're building this huge splash pad. I got to take some pictures. But, what are what's the content?
And like you said, it's
We-
value added.
That's value add.
We do have a question from a community member, Bonnie.
Just a comment, the project management, which is, excuse me, which is where we failed quite a few times already, and we know we don't have good project management skills. I think management can do the ones that are smaller and simpler in scale. I think the parks and the splash pads, but when it comes to the courts and the 851 building, I think that's an owner rep environment. You can hire a professional manager. Mark's nodding.
Right, and that's what I was implying.
Yeah, so that's an
why I
owner's
like
rep.
that.
You've got to,
Yes.
for us to undertake something like that, we'd be foolish, right, Mark? I mean, that'd be.
Correct, not unless you're paying me to do it.
Yeah. Too glad to take it, right?
Yeah.
But I mean,
Very honest with that.
think about that. It's an owner's rep environment that you're going to want.
Correct, and that's what needs to be in place, is somebody on their side that has that ability to do that. And I know that's something the board's been working on, is to get that, so that we do have somebody that knows what they're doing, implementing these things and
I mean, should it be
watching
like
the
a
progress.
monetary threshold,
No,
something over?
I think that contributes to it, but I think there's all complexities in terms of what it is that you're doing. If it's a complex and a high dollar value, you're going to want an owner rep.
100%.
So,
Yeah.
So, if you go to page 25 of our final report, which is the next steps, we listed 5 next steps. Step number 4 is hire certified project manager to oversee and support the implementation of the capital plan. And I have a slightly different view. I think that person, and I've had a conversation, that person should be hired. We should have that person working for Grand Manners, and whether that's a part-time, and that person, so it's not they're doing the splash pad. That person is there and they're doing 4 projects at the same time. And we do know, we've been through this government, that skill is available in the marketplace at a discounted rate in certain places. I don't know if this is public me, but Alec and Mark and I, we know where those skills are. We can find those skills, and that is something that if we're going to go invest $1 million or $2 million, it's worth spending $75,000 a year for a part-time certified project manager because otherwise we will fail. And the reason it's important is because the splash pad will be the first major project that we've done using CROA money in the last 6-7 years since the documents, okay, which is, right? So we haven't done it, so we want to say, hey, listen, we did this, we recommended this master planning group, and here we are 9 months later, right, and it's implemented, and here it is, and it goes smoothly. So, because if we can't do the first one right, we'll lose everybody's confidence, and we know how easy it is for some small projects that we're trying to do around town, without proper management, blown up into very complicated.
Should we get a project manager for Spring Court?
Yes.
Right, we did.
We use Diane O'Neill, yeah.
But that was a contract.
Contract.
Yes.
Me personally, I forget who paid for that contractor. I just wouldn't go out and hire a third-party contractor every time you have a project. I'd have that person on staff.
I
don't know.
I don't know if that's necessarily the best idea. I mean, you're gonna pay burden, health insurance, all of that for that person.
We'll talk offline.
1099.
No, 1099. There's a whole group of skills.
Then they're not a GM employee, then they're a CROA 1099.
Or a consultant, just.
Yeah.
Somebody else.
You can't hire contractors?
I don't think they're gonna do that.
How does,
If you hire a single person, you're gonna get a skill set from that single person. When you hire an owner rep from a firm, you've got the entire, professional competencies of the firm. So it's a much better thing to do on a project basis than to have a sunk cost for a $75,000 narrow person on an annual basis.
is the town architect, how's the town architect paid?
They're contracted with you guys.
So I think that's what
Yeah.
you're saying then,
Okay.
like the town
Yeah.
architect or the town landscape.
All right, so this is an important topic, different views. We need to go research it. You guys need to come back with how you would recommend it.
But it is a needed thing.
It's a needed thing, period. Whether or not,
More discussion here would be, take back to the board as what
Okay.
we should do. Not now, but like
Yes.
next time.
yes, next to me, it's an important topic. And we'll go research Laura, talk to you. Have you done it in the past?
There is a tipping point. We're able to keep the string of projects going. You can hire somebody a little bit easier. So it's whether or not that can happen. That happens.
A thought just occurred. One of the groups that I don't see to work with is CCDD. Is that out of
I noticed it too.
scope? Or what are we doing with that?
It's not in the resolution.
Is that an intentional?
Like, yeah, is it intentionally?
No, I don't think it's an intentional, like, do not work with CDD. No, I don't. I mean, yeah, because I wrote this resolution, I can't act like I didn't write it. But I wasn't intentionally excluding it. And as the needs see fit, because I know the report itself references some collaborations on things, so.
Well, certainly on the community center, which.
Right, when we get to that point.
It's not gonna happen.
Right. Right.
No, well,
So no, there's not a directive to not work with CD.
I think it's good it's in there, Jared.
Well, it's not in there, is what they're saying.
I think it's good that it's not in there because it doesn't restrain them from working with the CDD
Sure.
or
Yeah.
reaching out to them. So it gives them possibilities of communicating with them without being held to the resolution.
Well, partnership opportunities are encouraged.
Yes, definitely.
Well, again, what our report said is collaborate with other community groups,
Right.
including CCCD, to ensure the development and optimization, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so they're not mentioned in the resolution, but the resolution refers to this document, which is what the action item is.
Is somebody from ProAs still actively talking with Medview what their plans are? As for instance, I heard there might be a bigger piece of land out there somewhere that might be a place to put some things that are in the way of things we might want to do elsewhere.
Charles is the liaison with Mattamy, and I know Lauren talks to them very frequently. So yes, that is another part to have a relationship.
Baseball fields.
There is no such thing.
Okay.
I'm begging and pleading for a maintenance shed out there.
Okay.
We did ask about baseball field. There may be the land, but it wouldn't be usable land.
Any use.
Just curious.
Yeah, so the last
Yes.
amenity center that they're building out there is in phase 2. Phase 3 is very small, and then phase 4 is just gonna be pocket parks.
Okay,
Is there any drier spot that's better than anything else we have? Anyway.
There might be some CDD land that's on the outskirts, but I looked at it, probably dry, not dry.
We need the ability to keep discussing it.
Yes, yeah, and find out what's available, yeah.
all right, so,
Well, I have another question. So us not working with CCDD or like, I guess my question is, when it comes to collaboration and spending money with PROA, is that just not something that happens?
There's not a circumstance where spending money with CROA is a thing. It's not commingled funds. So I would look at each project, for example, the splash pad is a CROA property and a CROA amendment. And same with town hall. So I would go through, as Mark said, once you get to a community center, that's a whole other conversation. But that's well, maybe it's not commingled. Maybe it's, hey, we need this. We need you to build this. How can you fund this? How can you build this? This is what this community needs. I don't know, but that's 10 years down, or I don't know how long it is in the plan. I'm just saying 10 years down the line.
And that was also another question, like succession planning, is there like a term limit?
Every year, just with every, and with every committee is reappointed
Every year?
every year.
Oh,
So this committee's term is through February, maybe March,
April.
April,
Give us-
2024?
April 2025.
yeah, so it's not 12 months, it's,
No, because all committees restart in April.
We reappoint committees after the board turns over.
okay, got it, so, all right, work quickly. If I made some.
Well, there will still be a committee, just
But you have to like reapply every single time?
that's how it is for every committee everywhere. That's how it works. Just like every committee is limited to 7 members, and that is how it works everywhere. Just, just pointing out all the things that are
Alex,
consistent.
hang in there.
All
All right, so,
You know who I am. So that's.
I would, as a board member, want to keep the same group, at least for the second year, because this is such a short term, but that will be a vote of 7 people, 2 of which who aren't even identified yet, so.
all right, so, the notes I made were just to summarize, where we are in terms of kind of next steps. For the 4, first to do is I will send out, within the next 2 weeks, a draft project plan template. And then each project champion can elect to use that or use something different, ideally use it, but if there are unique circumstances. The 4 champions for the splash pad is Joanna and I. For town hall is at least Mark, champion, Marco for the multifunction courts, and to be determined for the parks enhancements. We will, I will, with Joanna's support and others, go gather some thoughts and talk to Lauren and members of the CROA board to make some hard recommendations as to how to proceed with project management. And again, it's just a recommendation, you all will do what you're going to do, but we will lay out some options with the pros and cons. That's what I had under section E. As far as future meetings goes, I have proposals or recommendations from people as to what works for them.
Well, what other committees are, is everybody in? I know
Finance meetings are typically the day before the board meetings.
I would, if you'll let me talk to Nikki and see when a frequent room is open on a recurring basis, that would probably be the easiest way, and I can throw out some proposed recurring dates.
Can we do it a little differently? Got it, but can we, just because we're all here, can we say, okay, third Tuesday, second Wednesday, and then you look and say, gee, either of those are going to work this way, otherwise with electronically, everybody's saying, no, that doesn't work for me. So
well, I wouldn't like Friday
I think
and
we
not
do it.
Tuesday. Probably not Monday either.
I prefer Wednesday, it's mainly because of sports, that every practice, whatever, is Tuesday or Thursday.
Right.
Always, so that's what I'm
Then-
saying. Wednesday.
Let's do Wednesdays,
Yeah.
So then either,
second or third Wednesday of the month.
I can't do the second because that's a board workshop. The second Wednesday, the second and fourth Wednesday of every month is the CROA workshop and the CROA board meeting. So you could do the first Wednesday.
Third Wednesday of every month,
Tuesday we have special events committee with the second Tuesday of each month.
the second Wednesday.
Second Tuesday.
of each
Okay, but third Wednesday of every month. Let's propose that now, just propose it. Everybody can go check their many things. You'll check to see if we can find a room. on the third.
Tentatively, that should be good because that used to be bingo and we kept it open.
Okay.
I like that too, because we have the workshop and the.
In between, okay. So we're gonna do the third Wednesday and, fine, and where do we sit? So that would be a month from now. But before then, we will ask the project champions at least, you're gonna send us a copy of the splash pad RFP? And then, maybe Joanne and I will come by and see you, talk just a little bit about that.
And Jared, you're gonna bring to the board the.
I'll bring the, yep.
Okay.
Lauren, did you just send them this presentation?
Yeah, I sent it while you guys were talking.
You also have a copy of our final presentation?
Yes, I do. I can send that out.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Can you also send the resolution?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you can add them to the Teams channel.
Yeah, that's our to-do list.
If you could just have the distribution list, because I know we had some of these bad ideas.
But yeah, we're gonna create you guys a distribution list. Our IT person just fully started this week, so he's gonna create a distribution email list, email collective. He'll get you guys at town hall email addresses, so then you can access Teams.
And
And
we'll
then
keep the same teams,
you'll keep the same login and everything.
well, we'll keep the same teams rooms, so all the historical documents.
All your historic documents will stay.
Like you had heard about this whole.
So Lauren just said the committee members know they have to use the town hall email to access Teams, correctly?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just so they understand that it's not their personal email.
Want to use your email for email communication, that's fine, but to log into Teams, you'll have to use it'll be first name dot last name at townhall.celebration.fl.us.
Okay, thanks.
So before we wrap, what was your expertise before you retired? Or what did you do before you retired?
Just about every job you can possibly think of. So I was a VP at a Fortune 200. Basically, I ran large-scale projects, if you want to think about it that way.
Okay. And Dennis? I forgot.
I was a prisoner in jail manager.
Ah. Okay, you
That's
said
built.
that.
Prison.
That's somehow appropriate.
Yeah, and Social Security.
And deconstruction.
To be fair to you, I know finance and purchasing all my specialties.
Yeah,
Thanks.
That's why you asked about negotiation.
Right.
right?
Well, that's where I think there is help with the RFPs and really vetting things to just take a look at it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it'd be really helpful to have your eyes on the RFPs
Yeah.
before we make a suggestion.
yeah,
That's the
those
nice
of us
part
who
about
forward.
the group we had somebody that had expertise in different things that really helped to be able to hone in on different aspects of it. Easier.
All right, any other topics? Katie, anything you'd like to add back then?
You know, I'm excited.
Okay. Anything we missed or anything that we want to circle back to?
Since I am sitting here and I just read the report for 851, what is the next step for the board on that? To me, you need to just keep going.
Yes, I think that's, listen, I'm one board member, I can just say that's my intent. I can't even guess, and I'm sure that it's also Katie.
Okay.
Well, I think, I guess you can maybe just reference now the next thing in the deliverables was the programming phase, 4 weeks with up to 3 meetings. And then the schematic design phase, 4 weeks with up to 2 meetings. So I guess that's the track that.
Yeah, they need to get to a point where they have come on to Christ. Calip themselves does do some estimate. I don't know if they can put an order of magnitude to even what they said here.
We emailed them and asked them to do that.
I
Yeah,
think that's important.
I'm curious what that number is now, but I do,
I think it's on our agenda tomorrow night. We're
Yeah.
discussing it.
Yes.
Okay.
But while we're on the topic, so Mark, engineering is not my area of specialty. As you read that, just, observations, anything that jumped?
No, it's exactly what myself and Alex
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah.
When you guys
looked
were
at
talking.
it, that, the windows failed. There's no sealant around them. They're not installed correctly. Replace them all. The exterior does not need to be fully ripped off. It needs to be replaced around the bottom.
Yeah.
And they do suggest obviously putting a new, as they put it, skin across it. So not removing the exterior,
Yeah.
putting a new finish coat on it so it matches.
Yeah.
And putting a coating on the roof instead of replacing it and redoing gutters. The civil work needs to be done around the building to get the landscaping dropped. That's actually what the problem was.
Yeah.
Was all that's built up to exactly the bottom of the wall.
Yeah.
The expensive part of the repairs to stop that from ever happening again, the way it was built is that EFIS came down right at the edge of the porch slab and it's just relying on the ceiling. Well, that ended up underground and with stuff going there, which is why there's frogs, lizards, and rats just walking right in. Because obviously that started to separate. So the recommendation is to actually cut around the building 12 to 24 inches, cut out the bottom of the studs and steps, pour concrete curb, get proper flashing there, that wall repair coming down with the actual insulation and the finish again has something to land against and water can't just come in anymore. So that and the window is probably the most expensive part of it.
Maybe.
But the building is fine.
Right, so when I read that, I don't know how expensive it is. It did not seem to be that complicated, what they were talking about.
It's not.
No, I mean, just.
But it does cost money.
It costs, I'm sure it's gonna cost a bunch of money, but it wasn't that's something that, it's gonna take 3 years to do.
No,
It's not
Not at all.
complicated. It could be expensive.
Should some communication go out, like town hall isn't that bad?
No.
They need to finish it.
Yeah, they yeah.
We're magnitude.
Well, I know there's like some people that think like just tear it down.
If you get metal on the wall, you can slip off. You gotta
Rip them off a little bit longer. The whole point was good.
get some fact-based discussion.
So it still needs new mechanical units and other things done. They describe that very well, so they should be able to throw a order of magnitude. I'd be curious just to hear what that is.
You know they have that already.
Yes, of course.
You know they have that
Of
already.
course they do. They know exactly what's going to cost.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Mark, is it gonna reach the tipping point?
I don't, it depends on what we decide tipping point is, but no,
If it's 2.5 million.
that's too much.
Yeah.
As far as.
Tipping point.
If construction price goes, I'm hoping it's in the 1.5, so.
Really?
Oh, wow. I thought 3 would be the tipping point, so that's great.
2.5 to 3 is where you really need to.
That's the celebration price.
okay, Yeah, but, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just for reference, people using the word tipping point, I think we'll use it. We put in our report 2.5 million, but Alec, who's maybe still on the phone call, kept hitting me over the head saying, when you come up with 2.5? I said, well, Mark and I kind of came up to point. It's not a scientific number.
Sure.
Okay?
Well, it kind of is.
It kind of is, yes.
You know, $500 square foot, 400 square foot.
That's it.
There's 13,000 square feet. It's pretty quick.
Yes, that's how we came.
Had some design premium
Yeah.
and shops where we weren't, unfortunately.
Yeah.
This goes up a little bit, but at some point you can have a brand new building, and is that brand new building really part of something else?
Right.
That's where it gets complicated. But if it eats over 2.5 to 3 million, you know, 5 million, you can start to build something.
Well, again, Mark, you and all the others who have made such good progress in the last few months on 850. Thank you for your leadership there.
Our findings are in line with exactly what we thought.
And it is fixable.
You know, the risk again of being disruptive, I'm gonna
Yeah.
put out there some, because again, you folks all seem to be pretty familiar with all of this. I'm not,
Yeah.
people I talk to are. One of the complaints that I keep hearing is there's not enough transparency. This document out public?
Yeah.
And there have been several meetings called so people could come and see presentations, and so
So we had,
I will argue that anyone that feels there's not transparency,
But
yeah.
I guess my question is, was there ever an explanation of how we got here?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
what, how we got there on town hall?
Communicate that maybe a little different, how we got into the condition. Again, no offense.
Oh.
No, I would be happy to,
No, you're right. It's good. Yeah, that's a,
Are you talking about the condition of 850?
Whatever this document is that I read.
the master plan?
No, so.
He's talking about the Click report.
This thing that was sent.
that's a debatable topic for sure.
Simply identified.
Yeah, I guess
Previous
that's my
boards
point.
didn't do anything to keep the,
Again, I read it.
Yeah.
maintained.
That's a very new document.
Coming up.
No, but your point is,
I
how
know
did
as a
we,
citizen, and as I read it as a citizen, I said, how did we get here?
It's,
How did we?
it's very obvious.
If you
Well,
say it's
what is
beyond this, I would say then.
what is it?
That's part of what
If you're not checking the building that you're.
That's part of what we're here for, is to point that out. It really needs to work a little bit better on getting people around the veteran facilities and how to maintain them. Nothing was recomped on that building as far as I can tell, 25 years, so it's got to stop. Canvas, everything's going to maintain and somehow keep it alive, but the exterior building was a big attention to it. Of course, that was something they inherited, so there's unfortunately a bunch of stories to that, but they inherited was the money away, blah, 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 and actually tried to maintain it.
Creating a preventative maintenance plan inside our facilities is top in our facilities.
That's precisely what it is.
Building our facilities leadership right now to make sure that's prioritized, because you're right, it wasn't in the past.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, so Bob, how we got to where we got to, I think, is it has, it's got, there's different views, but the one thing I think, at least from my perspective, is forgetting who didn't do what when properly is it really probably, just my individual view, wasn't properly explained to the community. Okay, listen, we should have done this, we didn't do it, so we don't have to go blame somebody 2 years ago who didn't properly, it doesn't make any difference. But here's where we are. Here's 3 different scenarios, here's 3 different timeframes, here's some price ranges. Let me know, we'll let you know, we put it on a chart, I didn't get it. You know, here's a date, and we're gonna let you know what our solution is. And that, got some pushback, even to say, just give me a date, they can give me a date. And so, it's a topic worthy of different views and discussion. It clearly is not one of our best moments.
So the high level,
Besides with no town hall.
Our view is this is a clean line, and we're trying to change it and get things work better, so. Dwell on the past too much, it's already there, so now we're gotta figure out how to fix it.
So the high level is there were years' worth of water intrusion due to lack of preventative maintenance and the buildup of the landscaping up against the bottom of the building. Hurricane Ian hit and there was a lot of water in the building. So we had to do remediation. When we opened up the walls to dry them out, there was years worth of mold in there that had to be cleaned out. And then we've just continued to have consistent water intrusion while we decide what to do with the building.
So again,
That's it, that's-
don't misunderstand.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for me. Right, as a citizen,
Yeah.
the first question in my mind is, how do we get it?
Yeah.
And it's not a 2-year thing, or, I mean, the hurricane, that brought this all to light. This has been going on for 25 years.
It's already happening.
Yeah.
It's already, if you go around building it, anytime there's a rainstorm, you see water built right up. It's obvious what's occurring. So, just gotta fix it.
Okay. We'll be here afterwards, so we can go through and take you through if anybody wants to talk further after the meeting. But unless there's any further discussion, we'll have our next meeting on the third Wednesday of
November,
November.
tentatively, if I can confirm that date.
Third Wednesday. of November.
Lauren, can I ask a question, please?
Yes, ma'am.
All the people that were on the MPAG group, they all saw the inside of town hall or just Mark? Like behind the Grand Manager's office?
We took a tour.
Okay,
We took a tour, we spoke to the staff, we explained about the snakes coming into their office.
Awesome. Okay, Joe, that's why I want to bring this up. I think
Yeah.
maybe it might be a good suggestion, I don't know, that the 2 new members of this committee, so that you're all in alignment with each other, can see the inside of that building. Is it possible, Lauren?
Yes,
Yes.
if anybody who wants to see the building, just schedule time with me and we'll open it up for you.
This way, help them understand what they're talking about when they're talking about A51 and all the issues that building has.
Honestly, when we're doing that tour, again, period.
For us, yes, live the report. Lauren, just last week, we have the AC, right?
Enhancements.
The AC is
Same thing.
functioning, yes.
Function, so we're not getting any mold or anything in there.
No. A lot of the servers for the IT system are in that building, so the AC is critical for the
Okay.
operations.
All right. The meeting's now adjourned.
Thank you, everyone in this group.
It's